Hi, I'm Becky Davis with City TV. Welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Santa Barbara's main thoroughfare, State Street, has seen many transformations over the decades. From dirt streets with horse and buggies to pavement with streetcars and automobiles, one thing has been constant. It's the economic engine that drives downtown. And a new effort is being undertaken to make a portion of the street more inviting and keep this economic engine tuned up.
This is a great opportunity for us to highlight art, science, technology, renewable energy, and show off what the community really cares about. We want to enhance the underpass and build a strong connection between the waterfront and downtown areas. But really what's so important is to create a very unique space where the community can come and it can really become an iconic area for Santa Barbara. And to do that, we want everyone to get involved and give us their ideas about how they can use the space.
In the 1950s, Caltrans built Highway 101 through the middle of town, separating Santa Barbara, effectively creating a barrier to getting from one side of town to the other. The impacts of this separation are still evident today all over Santa Barbara.
The challenge for us now as a community is how do we bridge those two spaces? The challenge is right behind us. It's the interchange.
It doesn't really pull you in. There's nothing special. Sometimes it's a little dirty. You know, it's hard to keep it clean all the time. It's narrow, so it's a little hard to pass people going the other direction.
In its current state, this underpass does not reflect well on the importance of its location in the community.
You know, I think it's seen as a separator. It separates the wharf, the Children's Museum, the Funk Zone, Cabrillo from the lower part of State Street. And I believe the idea of enhancing this in some way, it makes it a place to visit.
I think with the connectivity to the Funk Zone and to the rejuvenated beach area, especially with La Entrada, I think there's been a gap, particularly the first couple blocks. It's a lonely underpass, and I think that to have something exciting would bring people through with a smile on their face. I think it'd be great for downtown.
Above the freeway, we've been at 2 lanes since 1969. Down below the freeway, we went to 2 lanes in the past decade. Under the freeway, it's 5. So now we have to make it logically fit, we need to narrow those lanes and add more people space.
There's some pretty serious limitations on what can and can't happen here, but it's certainly a more enhanced bike lane, maybe with a barrier to create a much safer and more protected lane for the bike traffic. The bike traffic here is pretty heavy, and the pedestrian traffic could be enhanced by that as well.
Our goal with this process is to try to make the interchange not just to eliminate the barrier, but make it attractive to go both ways and to be something that is inviting.
It needs to be an outdoor art project to get people to come through it, feel safe, and enjoy the experience.
I love the idea of having public art. It's a blank canvas, and I think to bring some excitement to it and some public art to it would be money well spent, and I think it would be a boon and a good thing for the spirit of Santa Barbara as well as for business.
So if we create something here that has a certain kind of an appeal, whether it's word of mouth or there's something that they see that creates a visceral draw-in, then they're going to want to drop in, experience it, go to the other side, and then barbell over to the other part of the commerce of the city. I think this has an opportunity to be a civic pin that it would be a destination for international travels to go have you seen this thing? It's unbelievable. And it appeals on a technological level, it appeals on a visceral level.
And I think public art is a great way to get people engrossed in their downtown, to feel a sense of pride, to want to bring their friends when they come to visit, their family. And that's what it's all about, having this great community in Santa Barbara and having a vital downtown that we can all enjoy.
One of the most important parts of this effort is getting people engaged and helping people really dream about how they could use the space and what's possible.
To get ideas for the community, the city will hold a public workshop to talk about the possibilities for the site. It's important for downtown businesses, property owners, artists, design professionals, and anyone who wants to help shape downtown to get involved.
You know, cities that have a lot of civic art or points of interest, people want to bounce and swim through the city. And I think we could use more of that here. So one of the things we're going to do with the workshop locally and with business owners and people of the community is to identify what are the, if you were to look at it like verticals, like what are the highest verticals of importance with this project. And it seems right now like one of them would be just general beautification, but I think probably the top priority is going to be bringing an economic flow that makes this process absolutely appealing and actually a place you'd want to go.
We created a Pinterest page for the community to check out and get ideas from different cities all over the world and see what's possible for the Underpass. I think everyone has a piece of public art that's inspired them, something they've traveled to, seen in another city, or maybe something they've seen online. And a little bit of homework for the workshop, we're asking everyone to send us a photo of the public art that they've seen and tell us briefly what you love about it.
Up next, we'll get the details on Santa Barbara's newest roundabout.
The intersection of Las Positas Road and Cliff Drive is one of the busiest in the city. But in the past, as a four-way stop, that meant for long queues and wait times at traffic hours.
Before there were any intersection improvements done, the intersection was an all-way stop. And during the peak hours, especially the PM peak, traffic would back up, sometimes well past Ealing's Park to the north, which is nearly a third of a mile. And so there was a lot of congestion here and a strong desire from the community for some congestion relief.
To provide that relief, in 2013, City Council approved a proposal for a roundabout at the intersection.
This was not an easy decision for the council to make to go with the roundabout because of the extra cost involved. The council had to decide whether to use general fund money on top of the grant that we received to do it. And ultimately the council decided if we're going to spend good money on this project, let's do it right. And so this one-time money for a project like this was, we thought, the better thing to do in the long run. And I think it was the right decision.
A single-lane roundabout design was chosen to improve traffic flow and increase safety.
It's constant flow. So traffic pulls up and it yields to other traffic that's already in the roundabout and then it can go. The reason roundabouts are safer is because of the low speeds. The way we design roundabouts is that as traffic is approaching the roundabout, we design some reverse curves into the approach so the traffic is gradually slowed as it gets close to the circle. Once it enters the circle, it's usually at a low speed, somewhere in the 15 to 20 mile an hour range. So drivers tend to have a lot more time to react. And even if there is a collision, it's usually a low speed fender bender versus a high speed T-bone that can happen at a traffic signal. So even if there is a collision, it's usually a lot less severe.
Roundabouts can easily and safely be navigated by pedestrians too. Generally, traffic is moving pretty slow, and you only have one lane to cross at a time because of these median refuge islands. From here, you wait for the traffic in the other lane and cross when it's safe.
Cyclists traverse the roundabout just like cars do, but for those with less experience, there are ramps that connect the bike lanes with wide sidewalks that can be shared with pedestrians. The roundabout was completed in May, and in the fall, the city will be conducting a follow-up study to see how traffic is flowing.
After we do an intersection improvement, we like to give traffic time and all the drivers time to get used to the new traffic control. But just anecdotally, the congestion's gone. The queues that we were seeing past Ealing's Park in the PM peak have virtually vanished. So just by that, it's working really well.
The roundabout landscaping is covered with drought-tolerant plants and water infiltration systems.
Around the roundabout, there's water infiltration points, so as it rains out here, there's places for water to shed off the road and infiltrate into the ground, which improves creek quality because the water from the runoff of the road isn't running off into the creek, and it also helps recharge our groundwater supply.
The city also improved the crosswalk at Allen Road during the roundabout construction.
We installed some median refuge islands. The refuge islands help calm traffic, and as well it provides the pedestrians the opportunity to do what we call a two-stage crossing.
I, really want to commend the neighbors in the Mesa area and people who just love going to Hendry's Beach for telling us that this was important to them. I really think this particular roundabout is really helping people get used to driving around a roundabout, and that perhaps we can look to other places around the city to see where else they could work.
The city is planning more improvements to this area, including a new bike path that starts at the roundabout and runs along the west side of Las Positas, continuing along Modoc to the western city limits. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Introducing real-time bus tracking from Santa Barbara MTD. To improve your day, receive instant bus arrival information via text message. When you're at home, use your laptop to see exactly when your bus will arrive and spend more time doing what you love. Our mobile app will help you stay on schedule and focused on what matters most. Because when you're on the go, MTD will get you there. Real-time bus tracking, new technology that will change the way you ride with us. Available wherever you are.
Welcome back. It's been narrowed, straightened, and covered in concrete. It's been manipulated in many ways, but the Mission Creek Watershed still plays a vital role in our city. Up next, City TV's Chris Bell explores the watershed and the Creeks Division's efforts to improve this important area.
Okay, here's a test. What is this? Does it look familiar? And no, this isn't a Rorschach test. Maybe this'll help. You see, it's us, the South Coast. Only with the help of satellite technology, we can really see our watersheds. When it rains, any water that isn't absorbed into the ground runs off and converges at those veiny-looking branches, which are our creeks, and then makes its way to the ocean. But watersheds are greatly affected by urbanization, and no watershed in Santa Barbara has been more developed than the Mission Creek watershed.
Before the city was really built out, Mission Creek was called Arroyo Pedregosa, or Rocky Creek, and it was much wider and meandered along a different path than what is there today. Mission Creek of today has been not only relocated, and in some cases, but has really been narrowed so that development could expand along the creek boundaries. And that urban development has put a lot of pressure on the creek. It's really degraded the natural resources in the creek as well as the water quality.
Nothing epitomizes the manipulation of Mission Creek more than the Caltrans channels. Built in 1934 and 1961 respectively, the channels diverted and straightened sections of the creek to accommodate the 101 freeway.
And it was for two reasons. We assume it was cheaper because they didn't have to build two bridges under the freeway. The creek from this location goes west over to the west side and the old creek channel, and then meanders back across this channel. And so that would have been two giant bridges they would have had to build. The second reason is it improved flood control.
The Caltrans channels may have improved flood control, but it came at a cost.
The downside is that it still floods upstream and downstream. It doesn't allow water to infiltrate into the groundwater. It makes people's attitudes towards the creek a little different, I think. They consider it something that, you can throw trash in, you can graffiti, doesn't make you appreciate it. And then for water quality, when water runs over a concrete channel like this, it actually gets warmer, which is not good for water quality. That means if you have any nutrients in the water, it'll grow more algae, and it doesn't allow the ground and the plants to filter any of that water.
The concrete channels also brought an end to steelhead trout in Mission Creek. The endangered steelhead was once ubiquitous in some creeks along the South Coast, but steelhead need to spawn in the middle and upper watershed, then return to the ocean. The Caltrans channels made that impossible.
When the water is a little higher, the water runs too fast when fish would swim up, and when it's a little lower and they might try to go up, it's too shallow.
With complete removal of the concrete being too costly, in 2010 the Creeks Division initiated a series of projects that took an innovative approach to the challenge the channels presented to steelhead.
It was very tricky. We did a bunch of modeling, physical modeling up in Canada in a lab, and we were able to come up with a solution that hadn't really been done before anywhere, but looked like it would work.
After the successful trials, contractors cut a channel within the channel along all of the 2 concretized sections, as well as a bridge at Talent Road.
It's been performing just like the modeling, which is sometimes a rare thing. And so we have been happy so far. So it's still, fish can still swim up this when there's water.
There isn't always water in the Caltrans channels, but on the other side of the 101, the section of Old Mission Creek that was cut off from its headwaters due to the construction of the freeway, water flows perennially.
There's year-round flow as long as there's not a drought. And that's really important. We have a fish species, a stickleback that lives in that creek. We have frogs.
But after being cut off, Old Mission Creek languished for years.
It was mostly filled with invasive weeds. There was poor water quality.
Those conditions, along with Old Mission Creek's highly visible location, made it a perfect candidate for restoration.
It was the first restoration project that the Creeks Division did back in 2003. And we reshaped the creek, we made a bile swale, and then we planted a bunch of native plants. We took out a bunch of non-native plants and trees and put in some new trails and areas for people to experience the creek.
But the reach of this type of restoration project is limited since the vast majority of Mission Creek is privately owned.
Over 80% of the creek beds and banks of Mission Creek are privately owned. And so in order for the Creeks Division to be successful at creek restoration throughout the city creeks, we need to partner with private property owners.
And some private property owners have answered the call, like the Creekside neighbors on Vernon Road.
There was significant interest from the neighborhood in doing some restoration work on the banks of the creek. Creeks Division worked with the neighbors and implemented a successful neighborhood restoration project. The neighbors were actually in there planting plants. They have ownership of that area. They really love and appreciate the creek, and it's really improved the riparian corridor and the natural resources of the creek.
But not everyone lives next to a creek that they can help restore. So the Creeks Division developed a number of creek-friendly demonstration projects on the Mission Creek watershed that anyone can mimic.
The Creeks Division's installed permeable pavers in areas where there is existing hardscape to demonstrate how that can improve water quality while also allowing for the continual transportation use of that surface, like pedestrian, parking, or driving. Permeable pavements allow the water to soak through and pollutants to be filtered out, and that water to recharge groundwater, feed the plants, and also slowly make its way to the creeks and keep base flows of the creeks at a healthy level throughout the dry periods between rains.
Permeable paver projects in the Mission Creek watershed include Oak Park, the Westside Community Center, and Ellis Keck Park Memorial Garden.
The big push now is to try to get the developed areas of the city to act more like a sponge during rain events.
In addition to projects aimed at treating the water after it hits the ground, the Creeks Division has also tackled preventing pollutants from getting into the watershed in the first place. It has installed hundreds of screens that block trash at storm drains so street sweepers can remove it. The Creeks Division has also worked to educate citizens about ways they can help improve creek and ocean water quality, like reducing pesticide use and picking up after their pets.
You know, every person can really make a difference, and if you could plant native plants or not use pesticides, these things make a big difference in the grand scheme of things.
Going forward, the Creeks Division will continue to strive to make a big difference in Mission Creek and all of our watersheds. But with so much of the watershed being in private hands, if we really want to see improvement in water quality, we all need to do our part. As the Creeks Division has shown, that can happen in a number of ways, from restoration to increasing permeability to pollution reduction. However, maybe the most powerful thing we can do is reacquaint ourselves with the thing we're striving to improve.
Our creeks are dry in the mid watershed a lot, so People don't even know they're a creek half the time. And what I would like to see is people understand that better and get a better appreciation for the creek, even when it's dry. Like, oh, hey, that's a special place in the city.
For more information about your local watershed, visit sbcreeks.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Introducing real-time bus tracking from Santa Barbara MTD. To improve your day, receive instant bus arrival information via text message. When you're at home, use your laptop to see exactly when your bus will arrive and spend more time doing what you love. Our mobile app will help you stay on schedule and focused on what matters most. Because when you're on the go, MTD will get you there. Real-time bus tracking, new technology that will change the way you ride with us. Available wherever you are.
Welcome back. Imagine it's the middle of the night and your water pipe suddenly bursts. Would you be able to quickly and safely access your meter box in order to shut it off? Up next, learn the importance of knowing where your meter box is located and why it needs to be accessible at all times. Every day, the city's water distribution system supplies over 12.5 million gallons of potable water to residents' homes. That's a lot of water that has to be read and recorded routinely by the city's water meter readers.
Over 90% of our 27,000 meters are read manually, and therefore we do need to actually have room for a person to be able to get in there and get to that meter.
With hundreds of meters to read each day, being able to easily locate and access each meter is not only critical, it's actually a requirement per the city's municipal code.
Even in the future, if we did go to a similar system that allowed remote reading like Edison has, we would want to still maintain that access because we can still need to access the meter box, whether it is to check on the infrastructure in case there's something going wrong, in case there's a tenant change, or in case we are shutting off water for a plumber or something like that.
If there is ever an emergency, such as a property leak, we want to be able to get there as fast as we can and have access to the meter as quickly as we can. A lot of times people were finding leaks at night when customers come home from work. So, having it better exposed will make it easier to locate.
Being able to quickly locate meters is also essential for safety.
Typically, water meters are installed near the curb, and so the less time they have to spend in possible traffic areas, the better. If the meter is very overgrown or something's been placed on top of it, that can cause them to have to spend more time to locate the meter and make it accessible in order to get the read. And so the efficiency and the safety are big reasons why we need meter boxes access at all times.
Unfortunately, many times city staff encounter boxes that have become overgrown by vegetation, making it difficult to access them in a quick and efficient manner.
What we see is just a lot of overgrowth coming from just plants, bushes, cactus, things like that, that just grow around the meter. Or sometimes customers even plant bushes while they're small next to the meter, and then once they take root and grow a little bit, they begin to overgrow and encroach around the meter, making it difficult to read.
In addition to overgrowth, other obstacles like fences, garbage bins, and large rocks can also impact their ability to get to the meter.
When new landscaping is being laid, a lot of times customers or landscapers will cover up the meter with the weed blocker and then cover it with mulch, making it really difficult to find at that point.
When crews do come across meter boxes that are hard to get to, they'll first notify the customer with a door tag.
That gives you 30 days to correct the problem, whatever the issue may be. One of the reasons for giving you the 30 days to address the issue yourself is because we want to give you the opportunity to trim it the way you like it. We know a lot of customers in the city have kind of expensive and ornamental landscaping done. So we do want to reach that common ground where it works for you and it works for us as well.
That also is something that gives them the opportunity, if they don't know where their meter box is, to get acquainted with that, because we also want the meter boxes accessible for the customer as well. We want you to be able to know where your meter is, check your read, and stay on top of what your water usage is.
While the city makes an effort to work with residents in gaining access to their meter box, plants and other obstacles will be removed if they severely limit staff's ability to do so.
So this meter is becoming overgrown by the ivy. If it's not maintained and cleaned up by next month, it will be overgrown and it will be harder to locate. Although you can even see the meter box right here, the actual meter is located further, deeper into the meter box. So the fact that it's set so far back, it makes it difficult to read, being that it's dark in the meter box and the numbers are pretty small. So I'm just going to trim this ivy back a little bit just to make it easier to see for us, for the customers, plumbers, or any emergency workers that need to come out here.
When considering how much space to clear around your water meter box, be sure to leave room above the box as well.
So this is why we need a little extra room coming on top, so we can get our turn-off key on top of the valve in case we need to turn it off for maintenance reasons, or in case the customer needs to turn it off for having plumbing work done on their house.
What would only take a few minutes for a homeowner to do can take hours for city staff when they're stopping to read hundreds of meters each day.
When we are going to clear landscaping around the meter box, we're going to do it so that hopefully we don't have to come back and clear that landscaping for quite some time. And that might not be always to the style and the liking of the customers. So we always want to give them the opportunity to do that clearing themselves if they desire to do so.
So this is a great example of a customer that had a lot of overgrowth around their meter box. So we did leave them a door notice and they responded very well. They cleaned around their meter box, giving us easy access to it. They even cleaned around their irrigation control. So now if they need access to that, they have easy access to their irrigation as well.
One of the best things water customers can do is know where their meter box is located and be aware of the vegetation that exists around it in order to keep it well maintained.
As far as do's and don'ts, I think one of the biggest things is do keep in mind what the size of the plant is going to be once it actually matures. A lot of times somebody will plant a plant near the meter box and it's okay for that time, but once the plant reaches full maturity, it is completely overgrowing the meter box location. Don't plant plants that have thorns or other spiky material close to your meter box.
For a list of suggested plants for the area around your water meter box, visit santabarbaraca.gov/landscape design standards and click on Suggested Parkway Plantings. If you have any other questions about your water meter box, you can call 564-5413. This summer, the city stepped up to the plate and helped a homeless baseball team find its place again here in beautiful Pershing Park.
The Santa Barbara Foresters are a team of collegiate baseball players from all over the U.S. looking to play ball over the summer. Recently, the team relocated from UCSB to Pershing Park and have fallen in love with their new home.
Players get excited when they come to Santa Barbara because the weather is so good. They're used to really hot, humid weather. Here they're going to play under, blue skies and 75 degrees.
The Foresters have a long history in the Santa Barbara area and are hoping to reestablish traditions in their new home.
Hopefully we can rejuvenate the interest of baseball at Pershing Park because the history is tremendous. Babe Ruth did an exhibition here. Satchel Paige pitched here. Also, by playing here in the summer, we're utilizing an asset of the city of Santa Barbara more than it just sitting.
In addition to the players getting excited, the community downtown will benefit from having a baseball team right in their own backyard.
The energy and the feedback that we've gotten from the community has been so tremendous. We were practicing last night and we had fans in the stands already watching. So it means a lot. It brings the community together for sure.
Strike one! It will have a true community atmosphere. Families will be able to sit in the outfield out beyond the home run fences and watch the games and activities, and those that want to be involved with more of the festivities and be in the stands can be here.
Once the summer ends, most of the players will return to their schools, while some may be lucky enough to be drafted by the major leagues.
We get players, college players from across the country, and having won 6 national championships allows us to get really good players from across the country.
Our league gets scouted very well by Major League Scouts and by other college scouts. They usually go back to their schools and finish out their education. And we've had over 400 kids get drafted by Major League professional teams. And we've had 40 of them that have gotten to the big leagues.
In addition to being skilled baseball players, the Foresters also place a heavy emphasis on molding mature, well-rounded citizens.
So our #1 goal is to make the players better, not only on the field but off the field, because we have a Hugs for Cubs program, which is just childhood cancer survivor support program.
So we usually go to Santa Barbara Cottage twice a year, and we take the team and we take gifts, and the boys spend time in a number of rooms. It just gives a little bit of normal to the kids, having the boys come in. It means a lot. And then when we go to Wichita, we also go to the hospital there.
So we do the Hugs for Cubs and try to make them realize that there's something more important than just hitting a fastball, and that's giving back to those less fortunate.
The Foresters' relocation is an example of a great partnership between the team, SBCC, and City Parks and Recreation.
Bill and I started this process years ago, about a year and a half ago. And then we thought maybe we would go to Goleta at Gersh or Westmont, and those both had a lot of restrictions. So it just all came together. The city has been tremendous in allowing us to play here, them and City College.
They are the Santa Barbara Foresters. They wanted to play in Pershing. They wanted to return to their roots here at Pershing, where they played July 4th games going way back in their history. And so the city and City College have a very great joint use agreement that we share resources and facilities. So both agencies work together with the Foresters to really bring them here and kick off their 2017 season.
That's why we're excited about playing downtown. We're Santa Barbara's team, and we're in Santa Barbara.
The Santa Barbara Foresters made it to the quarterfinals this year and finished out the 2017 season with 34 wins and 13 losses. To learn more about the Foresters, visit sbforesters.org. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, you can give us a call at 564-5311. If you missed something, not to worry, you can watch the show online at santabarbaraca.gov/citytv. I'm your host, Becky Davis, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.